Good morning, Health Connector podcast. We moved Nancy over to the Health Connector podcast because we had a conversation, and the conversation said we need to be in the Health Connector. And I'm going to tell you why I think it's important. But first, I want Nancy to introduce herself, who she is, what she does, and who she serves. And we're going to get into a little bit different podcast this morning.
All right. Well, I'm Nancy Glass. I'm the owner of Clean Eats, which is a healthy cafe and meal plan company in Norcross, Georgia. And that's not all that I do. I think sometimes we identify ourselves only by our career, but I'm put on this earth, I believe, by God to help other people feel good about themselves and to see, as we were talking earlier, to see them from the light of someone else. Just lift each other up because life can be difficult. So here to make a ripple in this large world.
Yeah. So for our viewers, I just came from a Rotary, and the guest speaker, she has three special needs children and she adopted a fourth. So she was talking about a life of serving and really how we perceive things. And we actually had something, I'm going to bring it up in just a second, but I'll just kind of frame it for our viewers is when you look at things, you can look at it two different ways. And we had this discussion, which I want to first establish that because you had the most awesome analogy that totally hit my brain exactly where it needed to hit. I always like simple things. So we were talking on the um, uh, we were talking on the pike. No, it wasn't pike. We were just talking. Okay. So you made a comment that sometimes we look ourselves in the mirror close up, meaning we look and we see that one wrinkle that all of a sudden hit us, and we focus on that wrinkle. And you said, you know what? If we step back like 10 feet from the mirror, we see the beauty of everything. We see the bigger picture of things. And it absolutely just crushed my brain. I mean, it was the best analogy I have heard for because we're in a independent independent living. The average age here is 80. So hey, age is part of life. We haven't figured how to stop it. So we're going to change over the time. I want you to share with our viewers, why did you and how did you come up with that? I mean, that is like so brilliant. I can't even like,
I can't take the credit. I read it on social media. That because I love social media and I love TikTok and the filters on TikTok, and you if you play around with that and you look and you're like, God, I wish I looked like that. It's flawless and beautiful and full lips and all the stuff that you know you don't have now as we age. Our skin thins and muscle tone and all of that. And so this guy said, you should stand back at 10 feet because that's how the world views you. And if you do that, you have your own filter instead of nitpicking every little thing because you live in your body every second and you see every little gray hair or whatever or dark spot that's happening to you. And if you obsess about that, you miss the bigger picture. And so I literally took electrical tape and put it, an X marks the spot like you're on a TV show, on the floor in my bathroom. I measured 10 feet back because
yes.
we need that. We need, to start our morning that way, I believe, because we're too critical on ourselves. And then it catapults you into a bad day. So I don't know who it was to give credit to. I can't remember, but it was something on social media that I read.
It's funny because I have people that'll tell me a good joke, and I said, I'll give you credit the first time, and then I'm going to own it after that.
Yeah.
So, no ideas are
Take it.
original. They're
Yeah.
just kind of reworked. So you share that. I will say to this, because I'll have people who will say, I listened to your podcast. What and they'll bring up something about the podcast. I said, did you listen to that? I said, No, I've never listened to one of my podcasts.
You
Like, I
don't?
can't stand
Oh,
the voice. I mean, I can't stand to see myself. My voice, I probably could, but I don't have audio in general. I have to. So, at 66, you're not 25. So your perception, to your point about standing 10 feet back, is when a person like myself, I'm thinking of me at 25 and I'm not 25. So I don't even like seeing it. So, I think we have to put life in perspective, just like you said. Look at the big picture of what you're doing in your life, in just how you're aging, because we kid about aging in place because we all are going to age. We're all going to change. If we can't love ourselves at where we are, then I think we're missing something, because we look at one little defect in whatever we see, like whatever comes about with what changes in our life. So what do you think? Like, I always like to get it back to what you're doing now with Clean Eats. I will mention to people about Clean Eats, and I will listen to what I will mention about the philosophy of Clean Eats, and I watch for what people say, and I will hear the objections in, like, I mean, I'm not saying like everybody's got to use it, but
right.
there's a closed mind and there's an open mind. When you mention to somebody, if somebody's open to hear an idea, they talk back different, or they engage with you differently. And I know we've had a discussion about when people come into your cafe, you have that, you talk with them, you make them feel that this is the community that you can engage with. They can feel comfortable being here. Today, we're so busy being busy, we don't do that. So you've told me several people that you've had a relationship with by just virtue of going out and talking to them. And it's like we want to just do the transaction, get the money, give the food, and run. It's like, no. So what did you like when you first opened the cafe? Like, what was that like, that first like
It was in
couple
the middle of
weeks?
COVID. That's what it was
Okay.
like. It was horrible. Oh my God. I mean, we weren't closed or anything, but the ball was already rolling. So the build out had to happen. The clock was ticking with my lease, et cetera. And boom, COVID happened. And so we opened up in May of 21, still wearing masks, cleaning,
Oh my
cleaning
God.
everything. Our name's Clean Eats, right? I mean, you open a restaurant, for me, it has to be impeccably clean. I mean, I get comments on Google about how clean our bathrooms are,
Mhm.
So that was tough. But I think that from COVID too, I've always been a people person. I'm a hugger. I don't care if I know you or not. I'm like, give me a hug, come on in, And some people aren't. You can kind of read them that way, and you just meet them wherever they are. And if you
Mhm.
come in and you're just kind of scouting around and it's not your jam, like it's too healthy, I've had people that say that, but it's not. If you try it, the food, like my bodybuilders will say, it's a cheat meal, meaning it tastes so good they feel like they're not on their plan. But eating cleaner, just it changes your clarity of your brain. I have one customer, Keith, that comes in and he started eating food, and he said, I'm less congested in the morning. And he said, and a side effect that I really wasn't focused on is that I'm losing weight, which I needed to lose weight. And then 2 weeks ago, he came in and he said, I've got to tell you this story. I told your general manager, but I got to share it with you. He was having problem with blood sugar. And
Mhm.
he said last year he got a call from his doctor that it was at 800, which is off the scale. And they told him he needed to go to the hospital immediately. And Keith is very driven. He's a realtor. And he's like, I'm not going. I don't have time for that. Right. Because we're busy. Right. We're just busy, busy, busy. And
Mhm.
until they said, you might die, you need to go to the hospital, he went. So fast forward to this year, he went back in for checkup and it was at 500. So they said, we're going to put you on insulin, but we don't have insulin right now. So come back in 2 days. Well, in the meantime, I hadn't seen him in, but like some people go on vacation or they fall off the wagon, then they come back. and he had fallen off the wagon, and he was eating anything and everything that he wanted. And he came in the cafe and he bought grab and goes, which are our frozen prepared meals that we make on premises. And for the next 2 days until his doctor's appointment, he ate only that. He's like, I was back on it. And he said, he got to the doctor's office and he said, can you take my blood sugar before you give me the insulin? I just want to see where it is. And it was back to normal. Now that, that's his story. That may not be everybody else's story, but his body reacted so quickly to healthy, clean food, portion control, that was the result. We can't make promises like that because we're all individual, but that's like life changing, and he's like, I'm never falling off the wagon again. And to me, going back to the community piece with COVID, we were so out of touch with each other. We need that connection. And I do a lot of research about community, and social media has distracted us from being together. People are heads down on their phones, and we see that more with the younger generation. But still, I have friends that are, 65, 70 that are attached to their phone so much that, again, it's text messages versus picking up the phone and calling. We miss that personal connection. So that's what I wanted to strive for with the cafe, is that community. And when you walk in, no matter if you're just here to get information, or you want to dig deeper into it and be a part of healthy eating, we're here to talk to you first. It's not about selling you something that you don't need. It's about finding out what your needs are. And I've always believed in that. If you need something, then let me tell you what it's going to do for you. And that conversation is completely different with each person, but it's also just getting to know people. I like people, and I was thinking the other day, going back to what we were talking about in terms of not microscopically looking at yourself, looking at your blessings. I've met so many people in the last 2.5, almost 3 years of opening this cafe that have changed my life, and you are one of them. And it was B. We were talking about B that came in, and she shared with you about what I was doing, or we would never have connected. And you have brought so much joy in my life. I can't even thank you enough, and I thank B for that. But those connections are important.
Well, the feeling is mutual. I mean, I think I remember like it was yesterday, and we haven't known each other that long, but when Bartina met you and brought you into the studio, I just knew when you walked in, you brought energy, and it was like you brought an excitement that is contagious. And for people who haven't listened to a previous podcast, I said, I want to be your agent because we're going to put your energy in a bottle and we're going to sell it. And I want to be the first person that would get the first rights of a refusal, that like you're going to take it to the market. I want to be the first to sell it.
If we can figure out how to do that. But that's why we connect.
And I think when, we had talked before about, even before Clean Eats, you had that attitude. It wasn't like Clean Eats totally changed everything, but it amplified your desire to connect with the community, your desire and your belief system about we are what we eat. What we put into our body does manifest itself. So it's understandable, as I got to know the philosophy behind Clean Eats, that the gym is where the people are looking for what they want to put in their body, because they've mastered the physical part. Now they have to match that with what they put in there. Because if you're going to operate at a high level physically, if you're putting junk in your body, it ain't going to work. It's like putting water in your gas in your car and saying, get me to the point. It won't get there. There was a funny thing, because you mentioned a couple things that are just like, this is crazy. So Nicole, I'm not sure, she has a thing called Rise and Shine. It's a nonprofit. They employ the special needs communities of people, and they know your name. When you come into the coffee shop, they say, my name is Nicole. What is your name? And so they learn all the names. They take the time to learn and engage and get to know people. Because if you go into Starbucks, Starbucks created an industry, but it's not like they know everybody. It's like, get you in and out, get you in and out. So they've created this whole culture. And where I'm going from this is she talked about, how Cheers, the old
Where
thing is
everybody knows your name.
everybody knows your name. And so they're saying, and so you're the same way. It's like the cafe is the modern version of Cheers. Like they're coming in, you're knowing the names, the people, you're hanging out with them, you're enjoying them, you're eating good foods, not drinking a beer. Nothing wrong with drinking, but I would much rather be putting good food into my system than maybe a beer. So you guys are the modern version of Cheers, and you're like the main character in that analogy with Cheers. Is like you're building a community where everybody, one, they know your name, and they want to be there because they want that community. They want to be able to come in and say, Nancy, how you doing? And you're saying, hey, Kevin, how you doing? Like, how's your day going? And you're sitting down, you're talking. I mean, we just kind of came up with this. It's wild that Cheers had that way back when, and now we got a modern version. I want to get down to a couple things. When you're in Norcross, so B was working over there. So she was like looking for a healthy place before, she found you. And man, she's like telling the world over here. But Atlanta and the traffic, it's like, phew, man, we need helicopters.
It takes you an hour to get an exit.
Yeah, exactly. The person that took me to the Rotary, she lives in Smyrna. She works up in Johns Creek. And it was like, we were talking after she leaves, she's going to go the 92 route. I said, you better figure on at least an hour and a half, 2 hours. She goes, oh, I know. And that's in the city. It's like,
yeah. And Johns Creek is really close to Norcross,
Yeah. So I know she's going to be I'm going to send her this podcast because I don't know if she knows about you. And it's like anybody over there, they got to know because you're not too far to get to Norcross, because I know they all talk about Norcross up there because my daughter just moved, but she was up in that area.
I mean, we're both, it's all one big happy family.
Yeah, and it is. Yeah. And I think for people to experience, my personal nutrition strategy was I would go to Costco, buy one of those rotisserie birds for $5. Mm-hmm. I buy these dry mixes from Brain Station, and I make soups. I've had so many soups, I think I'm going to turn into a soup. I mean, and then all of a sudden you bring over all these delicious meals. I'm going like, oh my gosh, vegetables, things together. I mean, it was like, it's not a soup. I mean, it's like, so then I go over because you're pretty far away. I don't have a helicopter. So I go to Ackworth and I get a couple weeks. And the hefty
that just opened.
Yeah, Nicole, I mean, Brittany. Yeah. Brittany is the franchise owner. Her story was crazy. Her husband would plan his trips around clean eats. So he was like work for Amazon and Home Depot, a big one. So they would send him on a place to open up these places. He would look at where Clean Eats was. That's where he would stay. So he would come over to Clean Eats. I mean, who the heck is crazy enough to do that? That's like insane. But I have, your meals are so hefty. I mean, there's a lot in it, and it's so nutritious. You feel so good about taking hold of your nutritional part of the wellness journey. So, But I mean,
I think
it's
also
like,
too is the ease of it, like we were talking about
yes.
something. Just you get in your groove and you don't venture out. I think the ease of, because you can come in the cafe and eat, and that's the community piece, or you can come in and pick up prepared meals that are already cooked that you just heat up. But pricing and ease of it, it's super easy to be healthy. And if you haven't done that, the change in your body, like you said, putting water in your gas tank versus putting in performance fuel. Um, you don't have to go to the gym to understand. If you change that, your body adapts to whatever you feed it with, right? And so aches and pains just kind of creep in that you think might be a part of aging, but when in fact you change the fuel, then you see some of that disappear. Some of it may be from aging, right? But there can be a whole nother layer if you're just putting performance fuel in your body, and then if you do some exercise, whatever you do that's fun, you don't have to go to the gym, go out and walk, or just move, and it makes
Mhm.
all the difference in the world.
Yeah, that it's been an eye opener how important the fuel we put in our bodies makes. Now I know the secret to your energy. You're putting the right fuel, plus you have the right attitude. Because you can put good fuel in there, but I think it also helps with the way you look at things. Because when you're feeling good, you have a different way you look at things. I think it's so important. I would like to have turned back the clock 10 years and see, did Nancy have that energy and that, like, that Bartina and I said it, it's like you had the it factor. You just were, when you walk in the room, people know it. And I think we can either be a shining light
You
or
see my head getting bigger? I'm like, it's gonna fit on the screen.
yeah, that's okay. Look, hey, look, you got to just pat yourself on the back
Can
because
I speak to that
we
for
have
1 second?
a choice every day
Yeah.
how we want to approach the day. And so I don't want you to ever say take it for granted because you choose what you said at the beginning is to stand back 10 feet and say, let me look at the big picture of life. I feel blessed. I feel good. I feel I feel I can make an impact. I feel I want to get to my community cafe, love on my employees, love on my customers, and just enjoy that day because there's a thing over here because the average age here is 80. At least that's what I was told. We're
Yeah.
not guaranteed, I try to, just by virtue of a story, I try to live every day like today's going to be my last because one day you're going to be right. It is going to be your last.
Mhm.
And if you don't kind of think that mindset, I think you can let the little things bother you. And if,
Right, or you don't do something. And I just want to say something, because there may be some viewers that are like, oh, whatever, she's happy all the time and life is great. No, that's not the case in anybody's life, right? You have
Mhm.
tremendous things that happen in your life. My most recent one was opening this restaurant. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but I went into it not thinking that it would be. I'm like, I forgot all the skill sets and whatnot.
Mhm.
So my day might start out like crap, but when I arrive at the restaurant, I know I owe it to my staff and to the people that walk in. My job is to make their day better. And so you set that aside, and before you know it, because you take on a happy attitude, you fake it, right? You just totally fake it. Just put a smile on your face and joy in your heart, and you go out and help other people feel that way. But an hour into it, now you feel that way, because it's a known fact, research, that if you fake it till you make it, you will, endorphins are released in your body and you will feel better. So I'm not this freak of nature where everything just slid into place, and I would never want to go back. You mentioned 25. I right now at my age, although I don't want to talk about that, I don't mention age or anything because I don't want to stick that kind of, like you're old in
Mhm.
my mind. But I feel so much better about who I am and know myself so much better now that I wish I could go back at 25 and know this, because I
Yeah.
I, I feel like I could do bigger things, because I wasn't confident in who I was, or how I looked or anything like that. And now, it's crazy at my age that I am now. I feel better about it, even though I'm not that young self. I'm still very young at heart. And so if you can capture that, everybody that's listening to us today, if you can find that inner child and bring it back out and have fun, right? Because today might be your last day. Go outside and play. Do crazy stuff. Don't let anybody judge you. Do what makes you happy. It makes
Yeah.
for a great day.
It really does. I was talking to my brother yesterday, and we got on the subject that he's a business development person for a school up in Rock Hill. They have I don't know if it's called, I think it has to be assisted, because there was a couple, she was 103 and he was 105. They were the oldest couple, and they would go dancing on Friday night every week. Every week.
Absolutely.
And so at that age, you think 105 and 103 dancing every week at the local whatever. Now, to your story about maybe today can be less, she fell, injured herself, and then she passed about 2 months later. He was in, at 103, you're 105, you hit the 100 mark. That's like a crazy accomplishment. Without her and that relationship, he passed 2 months later. So, the lesson here is move and relationships, because that keeps you young. The number that we have on our birth certificate is just a number. It's simply a number. Doesn't mean diddly squat, because you could be old at 50 if you think you're old.
I have friends at 30 that talk about how old they are. And I'm like, shut that down. You're not. Stop it. But if you think that way, you become older quicker, I think.
I want to be respectful of your time, Nancy, because you got a cafe to run, you got a business to run, and we talked about doing it early enough so you could get to the cafe and get ready and everything. So let's go. Let me go tell our viewers. I'm going to try and multitask here. I think I can get to, tell our viewers how can they get a hold of you?
All right. So you got up on the screen. My name, Nancy Glass. The cafe number is 678-833-5353. You can go online to www.cleaneats.com. If you're placing a meal plan order, just select in the drop down the location Norcross. We are at 3975 Holcomb Bridge Road. And that is right at the corner of Weatherburn. We're right at a stoplight. And a freestanding building and across from Ace Hardware. So that's a great, or Fur Kids. Everybody knows Fur Kids, which is, that's a great donation site as well as placement for animals. And so that draws a lot of people as well. But come in, give us a call. We'll give you information. Come in and see me. I'm there every Wednesday, open to close, because my general manager is off. I'm there on Sundays from 11 to 3. And then, throughout the week as well. But those are full days for me. So those are great times to come in and talk, but also come in and talk to my GM, Charlotte. She is synonymous with me, and we will take really good care of you. But most of all, we just want to meet you.
That is awesome. So your cafe is Cheers in Norcross. They want to know your name, but you got to come in there. So I want to challenge our viewers to share this with people in that area, Jones Creek, Norcross, where Nancy told you where they're located. Share it, because if B didn't share her information with, we're over in Kennesaw, we would never have crossed paths. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we would have, but probably not, because as soon as B told me, I went online like that hour, and I called you like right there, because I knew lunch is lunch, and so I called you that afternoon, and we ended up having a podcast, and the rest has been a wonderful journey of discovering people that really believe in such an incredible level. So I want to thank you for being a guest. Tell our viewers one thing that you want them to come away with on this podcast. What could you share with them?
Can I do two? Can I do two? Because I just want to
Yeah.
hook
Oh,
to what you
yeah. Hey,
said.
look, that'd be a bonus. Hey,
So
for
coming
viewers,
in to see us and sharing about us, there's 100 cafes, clean eats, and not just about clean eats, but small business, period. I mean, this is my first business. I was in the corporate world. And I have to tell you, I can run all the ads in the world and not get one little comment. But that person-to-person connection, just like we're creating in the cafe, you going out and telling someone else, we thrive off of someone that we know versus a business owner, right? We feel like a business owner is trying to take your money. But somebody gives you, hey, you should go check this out. Do that and support small businesses. I know there's probably a lot of viewers out there that own small businesses, but it makes or breaks the business. It's the difference in us keeping the doors open. And we so appreciate each and every one of you that walks through the door. I tell my staff, each person that comes in is signing your paycheck. Because without that community coming in and purchasing the product and loving what we do, our doors would have closed. It's just that simple. So, and then switching to, I think that, if I put a bow around what we talked about today, it really is not being so critical of yourself. And I want to go back to, the 103 and 105-year-old couple. Find something that you love to do. Make a date with yourself. If you're single or if you got some friends to go with, even better. But put it on the calendar. Make a date to go do something consistently every week that you enjoy doing, because I really think that's the key to longevity, as well as eating healthy.
Dang, you knocked it out of the park there, Nancy. And have yourself a wonderful day. And
thank you, you too, Pete.
Okay, thank you so much.